Okay, this is a new beginning. Welcome, everybody, and welcome, Arnd Wesemann, if I pronounce it correctly. And this is a new beginning because recently I have contacted Arnd and I invited him to start this podcast on my YouTube channel after many years that I have been receiving his emails from his website that is called Tanz Dance, and it's bilingual. It's a bilingual website. Of course, I will introduce myself a little bit for those who don't know me, and I will introduce a little bit Arne, and then it will be all about Arne, and he will tell us a lot of nice and beautiful things. My name is Sabrina D'Amato. I am a former ballet dancer, and when I stopped my career, I never stopped loving dancing and loving movement and moving. As a matter of fact, I also trained in dance therapy at one point after my career ended. But I keep always following also what happens around the world. And when I found Arnd articles and art websites, I found something very interesting, sometimes very poetical, sometimes it can be very hard to read these articles. So a couple of times I dared to answer him via email just to share some of my emotions and observations. But today we are beginning his way of telling about the dance world via video. And Arnd is German and he is an editor. He has been 25 years, an editor for the magazine called Tanz in Berlin. And then he started his own magazine called Tanz Dance, that is bilingual. So again, welcome Arnd, and thank you for being motivated and interested and curious to be here with me today. I'm going to just let you introduce yourself, and we are going to have a beautiful conversation, I'm sure of it.
Right. Yeah. Tanz Dance was founded also 5 years ago, and
Okay.
the motivation was, of course, I was a bit rid of all these costs for print, publishing, and paper, which is eating up all the money authors can earn. So authors are not very well paid in the dance industry, so they better go for marketing into the theaters or festivals. So it's not something where I saw that there is a lot of future for dance journalism. And dance journalism, I think, is a little bit more than just a review. A review, to me, or most of the reviews I see in the present days, if there are still any in newspapers or sometimes on TV, they remind me much more on being something like a marketing tool as well. So even if hardly ever there's somebody who's saying, "Oh, I don't like this ballet," or "This ballet was much better danced 20 years ago," or whatever. So I think that's boring. Nobody wants to read that. Well, I don't want to read it. And so I was thinking about why am I so interested in dance and what is the motivation there
Yeah.
to go on and go on. And I think it was the meeting with dance people like you, Sabrina, so who were telling me a little bit about their research. So what is behind the curtain? Imagine that the piece you see on stage is just the crystalline core of an artwork. So it's has nothing so much to do with all the researchers done before.
It's the final
And
result.
yes, so it's just the final result. So you can like it or not like it. You can try to describe it or whatever. But I thought, yes. But isn't the story of the dancer much more interesting, or of the choreographer, or of sometimes they collaborate with scientists. So why don't we talk to the scientist who has inspired the choreography, and so on and so on. And so I started digging a bit deeper and found out that we can tell stories which are much more interesting than a review. They can be political, like in war zones, like what we have, and we wrote about Iran and Lebanon and Israel most recently. Of course, it was an Israeli who wrote it, Hillel Kogan, a wonderful choreographer who prepared a guidance to a very conservative museum, the Israel Museum, and he's applying his critique on the state right to the audience in this Israel Museum. And this is a beautiful example, at least, on that dancers do think. They are clever, they can argue, and they can entertain, of course. And this is all brought together by Hillel Kogan to one typical story. Another story, just as an example, most recently, there was a foundation of a national choreographic center, Thailand, in Bangkok. I said, what's that? What is this kind of institution? Consisting more or less of two famous artists, the only famous artists from Thailand, and Jiti Chompi and Pishet Klunchun. So we met and discussed, and there were a lot of people invited, at least not only me, but also people from France, from the CND, or from the place in London. Everybody came together, at least to inaugurate this new National Choreographic Center of Thailand. And we found out quite easily that the concept of these artists is much stronger than any European, because we think immediately when we talk about a dance house, oh, it must be an institution. But they think, as artists, it must be an artwork. So it's completely, they put it as an artwork. Artwork is the core of the thing. The choreography is the idea, not all these marketing people, that there has to be a main choreographer and a secretary and an assistant to the choreographer and whatever. So he's not interested, they were both not interested in any kind of bureaucracy and anything what is happening with institutions. So this is what you find out if you open your eyes into the dance world.
Yeah, I have got a curious question. I would like to know, much before you became an editor, what brought you to love dance so much?
It's the most difficult thing to describe. Movement is the most difficult thing to describe. Our words, even words which seem to move, like the word moving, is not moving. It's a fixed thing. What is the word dance? Is it like a stanza? So it's something very hard and rush. But if I would look you, Sabrina, dancing, it's not hard and rush, but it has its own fluidity. And what does it mean? And how do you follow with words to that? And it's very, very complicated to do so. And the only guy who was able to help me a little bit was William Forster. So teaching the analysis of ballet, of the movement, and not to bring it down to, oh, this is a plie, and this is a pas de deux, and what all these classical words are, but what is really happening in this moment. And this helped me a lot to develop a kind of language which is unpretentious, clearly understandable language for all, but applicable to dance, which is more difficult. And you have the same difficulty in music. It's also very fluent and very, you cannot say, every fourth hit is something or whatever. No, it's something, or what is a melody. This is all, you can be very theoretical with that, but you can also try to be very practical in the use of the language.
Yeah, actually, it is true. It is very difficult to describe a person when it's moving, because it's about the energy that that movement produces and generates. And the energy is always about feelings, emotions, and these
And
are
the
things
same
that you
applies to
cannot
language. So
see,
if,
and sometimes we don't have the right words to describe them.
exactly, and that's the same. What happens when you read a beautiful novel, which is touching you? The words cannot be
Yeah.
because they are just the words, but the combination of the words bring them into a kind of movement. This is at least so something's moving in your head. And that's, I think, the moments where we can follow and learn, of course, also from novelists, to describe dance in a better way or in a different way.
Yeah. And, you know, when you say, when you read a novel that touches you so much, it doesn't only affect the way you think, it affects
Hmm.
also your heart. And I
Very
think
much,
that
yeah.
the brain and the heart are very much connected. And I think that knowing more about what happens around the world, how people approach the movement, the art of moving, not only ballet, you know, classical
Hmm.
ballet that is much more accessible and available to many, many people. It is very enriching, and it can also give us another perspective about different cultures from ourselves, from our culture.
Yeah, and I like this idea of moving people. And if you edit a magazine which
Yeah.
at least isn't paying very much, so the texts are quite short, you cannot start moving anybody. So this is at least if you have a little bit more space, so you're not limited by pages or and all these typical limitations, but you can scroll in a text in together with photos, with video, with sound. Everything is possible in the digital world.
Yes,
So
and
here you can really use pictures, for instance, as pieces of evidence to say, no, I'm not lying, I'm not telling jokes, but it really show the people, this is constructed like this and this is made like that. But in the same moment, you use a language which is not this kind of terminology where people are saying, oh, intellectual or whatever, but, but just the opposite. And I wouldn't call it poetic. I hate this word, but of course, it's an art of writing, and it's an art of photography, and it's an art of dance, and it's all existing, and we can put it all together.
it's about communication anyway. It can be poetical, it can be also hard, it can be different. You know, we have different
Mm-hmm.
ways of communicating depending on what we are communicating. So I have another question, because while I listen to you, and I have to confess the audience that is going to watch us, this is very much improvised. I don't really prepare myself. This is a little confession, but I
Nor me.
always know that I listen to people and then questions come up in my little mind. Um, so you said that you started this other magazine, online magazine, 5 years ago. How did it start, and how is it going on, and what is your vision to make it go on over and
Yeah,
over?
how did it start? It started with a vision
Yeah,
in the
what is the
very beginning.
vision?
So that's what I have described. So it must be possible, at least in modern times, to bring with digital tools all the arts together to one story. And honestly, we are asking for money for it because the story is, I don't tell you lies, but it's well paid. It's really authors are well fed, so they should invest a little time in what they are producing, unless there's not this kind of in the evening you see a piece, the next morning you have something written, then the next evening you are in a very different kind of piece or setting or whatever. So to stop that and to really to concentrate and say what I'm doing here, what do we do? So this was the very beginning, and we found the first authors and the first experiments with with photography and or the combination of photography. One of the very first stories was made in Bangladesh. This is a piece by Helena Waldmann, who went there to Bangladesh to produce a show, and which was called Made in Bangladesh. And so there was lots of time to do a lot of research around this piece. So this is not about the piece, at least this thing, but about her researches. So she spoke with advocates for workers, with women liberation campaigns, but also with those guys who run the garment factories and the whole system. So she was really investigated how is that done, and so the piece is brilliant and perfect, but it's of course done. It's a
How
couple
long
of
did
5
it
years
take
ago.
her to do this research?
A summer.
Months.
Yeah, she flew in and did the research, and then afterwards but she did it together with the dancers. So she picked dancers from Lubna Mariam. She's a choreographer in Dhaka, in the city of Bangladesh, and together they did the research and they talked to other people, to workers. Uh, all these people. And so we were following exactly what are they doing, and then made a story out of it. So this was a kind of typical, for Tanzan's typical report, one of the very first.
Yeah. And how has it been growing? So who were the people that you connected to in the beginning, and how did it develop in these 5 years?
So I had because of the 25 years in the print industry, I had a lot of connections, of course, to correspondents, dance journalists from all over the world. And I was writing to them. I said, can you imagine, do you have an idea where you find something similar, where you can find a story and create something out of it? And many authors said, yes, why not? That's interesting. It's something different. Let me try it. I don't know if I can do it or so, but with a little help of my friends, we could. So, and then we brought these more and more authors came in, and at the moment I have 8 applications where people are at the moment in the process of writing. So throughout the year, we will see the result of the 8 new things. So we can almost publish about 12 stories of this quality per year.
So it's about 1 story per month, yes, more or less.
Yeah, but we don't have
not really 1 per month.
Sometimes these are there's no story in a month, but then 2 in a row. So everything is possible.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And how do you see? So you started with this very clear vision. Where does it bring you? Where do you see it going?
I think politically, I think that we should have a look in the arts, on the arts. I think the arts is telling less lies than the politicians do. This is less tricky and it's more to the point. Very often, it looks sometimes more symbolic, but this is the result on stage. But if you ask the dancers or the choreographers themselves, what do you experience really? You're suddenly in the middle of trauma research, um, for example, or people who are just saying, don't mess up with politics. So we are proud dancers who have nothing to do with politics. We have this example very often heard in Israel, but also in the Arabic world, including Lebanon. So people are refused to identify themselves with any of these political issues they have, from war to who's against whom. They don't want to be addressed by that because they have an alternative schedule. And I'm very much interested to bring this to the front and I don't want to hear the name Netanyahu anymore. It's forbidden in this thing, but we talk about Israel and the culture of Israel and whatever. So, and if they are unable at least to talk about Palestine, then of course they have these tricks. They talk suddenly about Portugal. If you look on a map, you see Spain could be Israel and Portugal could be Gaza, the Gaza Strip. So suddenly they are talking about conquering Portugal. So they are completely mute about the political conflict, and they are talking about something which was 500 years back when there were the wars between Spain and Portugal. And so suddenly they're talking about this, but they mean something else. Right? That, of course, do not mean history, but they mean, of course, history.
Yeah, because you can express through the movement and also through the explanation of that movement things that cannot be expressed otherwise in certain countries.
Right. And then you see suddenly how much resistance against this right-wing policy in Israel is existing. So I don't know why everybody says, Israel, we have to criticize it. Yes, the official politics, of course, but this is the part of the official politics. But what is in the art world? In the art world, traditionally has a high impact on the history and on the at least on our lives. And all our lives. And so making this important, some people said, oh, this is comes down to political. No, it's not. It's at least not enough political, but it's not meant as a political magazine, but we are confronted with politics.
I mean, every little and single choice we make, it's politics. The problem is that nowadays, the politics that is handled by the people who govern us is completely detached by the politics that we live on a day-to-day basis, and also in the art field. So as a ballet dancer, I have never made any difference. I had a lot of cultures in the theaters I was working in. So I had Israeli, I had Palestinian, I had Chinese, I had Russians, I had, I don't know, Mexican, Argentinian. So we were all together and we had to work together. And the cultures were never becoming an obstacle to work together. Actually, it was becoming something that opened our minds because we could really start seeing, and this is why I have been always very grateful to the opportunity for me to be a ballet dancer, because I had the opportunity to connect with people and with cultures and with point of views that I would never, ever be able to know if I was a normal, like, employee or whatever other profession. I'm not saying that the other professions are not good enough or not at the same level. It's just that it gave me this opportunity to really see in person different cultures. And I think that speaking about art is also speaking about politics, but in a different way, in a way that can bring communities and cultures together and not to separate them all the time. So I think that this is the purpose of doing what you are doing, and the idea that I have.
Yeah, the only problem is most of the arts, especially in Europe, are relying on politics. Yeah. So who is the director of a theater? Who is allowed to be the choreographer? Who is saying what repertoire is to be danced?
Yeah.
And if you look at this a little bit closer, it's highly relying to political parties. So do you have a conservative mayor or a socialist mayor or a progressive liberal mayor? It depends. At least this has influence indeed on the arts which are produced. And I think more independence for artists is worth to fight for. And not that an artist here in Berlin, every artist is asking for allowance to work on this and this. And there's a jury, and the jury is saying, yes, we allow you to work this artwork. Sorry, why should an artist ask for being allowed to do so? Yeah, because otherwise he doesn't get money. So it's oppressive system, and of
It's
course
about
we have to.
bureaucracy all the time.
And
It's about
bureaucracy
bureaucracy,
is
it's
after
like in
that.
Italy.
Yes, yeah, yes. Of course, it's like Italy or France
Yeah.
or England. It's
Yeah.
all. We have this kind of European idea of culture which is controlled by politics.
I mean, if you want to get the support of the government, you have to go through this kind of bureaucratic process. And
yeah, it's not only the bureaucracy which is annoying, but it is first of all that you have to pass the political will. So, are you for class A choreographer, or have you? What is your aim? And so, most of the people in Berlin at the moment are working with youngsters, with young children, because this is the highly supported sector in dance in for the independent people. And I think, yeah, and me and you and the others, we sometimes not even allowed to see these pieces because they are closed shops for school classes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, have you ever had an article on this kind of issues? What are you really interested in for your articles and the authors that collaborate with you?
I'm so open-minded. I'm so interested. We just had a premiere here of New Reyes. This was this by Posukov and Kirill Serebrennikov. It's a ballet. It's a ballet in which was originally produced in Moscow, and now it was restaged here in Berlin. Because Serebrennikov
By whom?
had to go by Serebrennikov and Posukov.
Okay.
Both. Posukov is choreographer, Serebrennikov, but a choreographic thinking director. And these two men, they produced in in Russian times, or in first Putin times, this ballet, Nureyev. And Nureyev flew, as you remember, in 1961 to Paris and stayed there and asked for asylum. And Serebrennikov, 65 years later, had to do exactly the same. So he had to flee Russia because he had to pay, suddenly he had, by no way, debts of 1.3 million euros. And so he was more or less, he couldn't move out of Moscow, he had to stay home. And he was always in front of trials and courts. And yeah, finally, there was an oligarch who paid this sum of money so that he could flee to Berlin. Now he's here, but as Nureyev is here, or what?
Yeah.
And this is political. Yes, this is one of the upcoming stories we are preaching.
Yeah, because as I said, from every aspect of our life, there is this concept of politics. I mean, it's just the fact that we are living together in a community that makes us create politics. Then it depends on how it's interpreted and how it's managed also at the higher levels. Yeah. So I think that this is a very amazing beginning. I am again.
Okay.
I think so. I liked it a lot. I'm liking this conversation. I don't know if you want to add something as an ending to this first meeting.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit too much about politics. It's not a political magazine. It can be because of the world is political. That's what you said very correctly, Sabrina. But we do first of all adventures. So people who research for, let's say, The oldest dance which is still existing in the world is Lasky. It's danced in Uzbekistan, and there you find the post-Soviet school, which is pretending what is Lasky, and you have the movement of the people who still dance Lasky, and they are fighting against these post-Soviet schools. This might be political, but the interesting thing on this story is what is Lasky, and what is the real and what is the true Lasky. And this research, for example, was wonderfully it's also a wonderful story, which is a little bit older, but you know, um, um, these stories keep fresh, and that's what I like so much on Tanzans.
Yeah. Okay, that's wonderful. So I will be going again, like I will be meeting new people. Today it's Arnd because he's the person who started Dance, but of course, with your permission, I will contact also other authors of your magazine, and they will come and tell more stories, more adventures, and more research. And I think that this is going to be very, very interesting. So again, thank you, Arnd. I wish you a beautiful
Thank you
day
so much,
in Germany.
Sabrina, to offer this platform.
Yeah. I'm just grateful. I love connecting, and I don't know why. Sometimes I just have to follow my intuition and to connect. There were no other reasons why I had to write to you. So I am very happy to begin this and very excited. And I remind people to subscribe to my channel. And if you like what we are sharing, you can leave a comment, you can like the video so that you help me growing visibility on YouTube, and that more people can learn more about all the research and the adventures behind every little piece of dance and movement. Thank you again, Arnd, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Sabrina.